Television has a rare ability to slip quietly into daily life, becoming less about programming and more about presence. For decades, Kelly Ripa filled that role for millions, greeting viewers each morning with humor that felt effortless and empathy that felt sincere. She wasn't just hosting a show, she was sharing space. Over time, her voice became familiar, her laughter comforting, her honesty grounding. That's why one particular morning stood apart. The studio lights were still bright, the cameras still rolling, but something deeper surfaced. It wasn't a performance or announcement. It was a moment of reflection that revealed gratitude, growth, and a profound respect for the people who had shared that journey with her. A studio that felt still. The morning began with all the usual elements in place, yet the atmosphere carried a noticeable stillness. The band played, the audience applauded, and the red camera light glowed steadily, but beneath the routine there was a quiet emotional current. Kelly took her seat with her familiar poise, yet her eyes reflected something more introspective than usual. Viewers who had watched her for years sensed the difference immediately. The energy wasn't heavy with sadness, but thoughtful, like a pause taken before saying something meaningful. It felt as though the studio itself understood that this moment mattered, that the ordinary rhythm of the show had briefly slowed to make room for reflection. Words that came from experience. When Kelly began speaking, her tone carried warmth, layered with sincerity. She spoke about time, about how routines shape lives, and how moments we repeat each day often carry more meaning than we realize. Her voice remained steady, but there was softness in her phrasing that signaled authenticity. This wasn't scripted commentary, it was lived experience. She acknowledged how the show had been a constant, not just for viewers, but for herself, and how that constancy had brought both comfort and responsibility. Her words resonated because they were grounded in honesty, reminding everyone watching that familiarity itself can be something deeply emotional. Recognizing the people behind the scenes. One of the most moving moments came when Kelly turned her attention away from the camera and toward the people who made the show possible. She spoke about the crew with genuine affection, naming their dedication, their creativity, and their humanity. These were not abstract acknowledgments, they were expressions of shared life. She referenced early mornings, long days, celebrations, and quiet support during difficult moments. By doing so, she brought visibility to a group often unseen, reinforcing that television is built on relationships as much as production. Her gratitude made it clear that the heart of the show lived not only on screen but behind it. A conversation with the viewers. When Kelly addressed the audience at home, the moment felt intimate despite the distance. She thanked viewers for inviting her into their lives, recognizing that watching television is an act of trust. She spoke about how letters, messages, and shared stories had shaped her understanding of her role, not as someone performing for an audience, but as someone connected to them. Her pauses, her breath, and her emotion made the connection tangible. Viewers didn't feel spoken to, they felt spoken with. It was a reminder that genuine connection doesn't require proximity, only honesty and care. Time as a quiet teacher. Kelly reflected on the years spent on set, not as a highlight reel, but as a collection of meaningful moments. She mentioned mistakes that taught her humility, laughter that carried her through exhaustion, and growth that happened slowly and quietly. The studio became a symbol of evolution rather than achievement, a place where she learned how to listen, adapt, and show up authentically. By honoring time rather than success, she reframed her career as a journey shaped by people, not milestones. Her reflections encouraged viewers to consider their own lives through the same lens, valuing presence over perfection. Emotion without apology. As the show continued, Kelly allowed herself to feel fully without attempting to smooth the edges. Her emotion was visible but never overwhelming. It existed alongside her composure, demonstrating that vulnerability and strength are not opposites. The audience responded instinctively, offering quiet support rather than spectacle. This balance created a rare moment where television felt less like entertainment and more like shared humanity. Kelly's willingness to be present in that emotion reinforced the idea that authenticity builds trust, and that allowing oneself to feel openly can be a form of generosity. What happens after the cameras stop? Once the broadcast ended, the emotional tone carried into the quieter spaces backstage. There were hugs, soft laughter, and moments of silence that needed no explanation. These interactions revealed the depth of the relationships built over time, connections rooted in mutual respect and care. Kelly's gratitude extended naturally into these moments, reinforcing that recognition matters most when it's personal. The absence of cameras didn't diminish the meaning of the day, it deepened it, reminding everyone involved that the most important moments often happen when no one is watching. Remembering through shared stories. A montage played later, capturing moments from across Kelly's career. It wasn't just a timeline, it was a collection of shared experiences. Clips of laughter, thoughtful conversations, and viewer messages illustrated how deeply her presence had resonated. People from all walks of life spoke about watching the show during significant moments, new beginnings, losses, quiet mornings that needed companionship. These stories highlighted the reciprocal nature of connection. Kelly gave consistency and warmth, and in return, she became part of countless lives. The montage served as a reminder that meaningful work often creates impact far beyond what can be measured. Gratitude as a closing note. When Kelly offered her final words, they were simple and sincere. She spoke about gratitude not as an obligation, but as a grounding force. She thanked the people who shared the journey with her, emphasizing how connection and empathy had given her work meaning. There was no sense of finality, only appreciation. The silence that followed felt intentional, allowing space for reflection rather than closure. It was a moment that lingered, not because of what was said, but because of how it was felt. The meaning left behind. The emotional resonance of that day didn't fade when the episode ended. It stayed with viewers because it reflected something universal: the value of being seen, the importance of gratitude, and the power of honest connection. Kelly's openness reinforced that impact isn't defined by visibility, but by consistency and care. Her legacy isn't just tied to television, it's tied to how she made people feel. By embracing vulnerability, she reminded everyone that authenticity is lasting, and that genuine connection, once formed, continues long after the moment passes.